So just like the game against Minnesota, when KD, you have to take 32 to 36 shots to get 39 points. I don't care how great you are. This team, you can win. This team can win without you taking that many shots. They were a championship team without you taking that many shots. So I think if KD was out and Steph was in, this team could still win because they're used to winning without KD. They won a championship without KD. With KD in this role without Steph, it's different for him because he don't know that he has other guys that can still be dominant without Steph being on the court. I think they didn't go to Clay enough in that Minnesota game. He didn't get enough shots. And other guys, they play well together. They're a team. They play well together as a team. And when KD takes so many shots, it's kind of hard. So Steph is definitely the most important piece to that puzzle, but KD is the best player.
See, so that's you and I are in full agreement. If the Warriors stopped existing as a team and all the players were free agents, I think KD'd be the first pick for another team. I think KD's their best guy, both ends of the court, can beat you so many different ways. But I think their most important guy is Steph. And the numbers, to me, back it up dramatically. This year, without Steph, they're 11-6. Without KD, when Steph plays, they're 7-0. With KD on and off the court, they outscore teams by the exact same margin. They're actually slightly just a tick better with him off the court. With Steph on and off the court, there's a 14-point difference between how the Warriors do with him on to with him off. I think Steph unlocks things not only for the offense as a whole, but we saw Klay Thompson on Sunday. All of a sudden, Friday night and Sunday. Okay, now you're going to have to dribble a little bit. Not that comfortable with that. Like, there's a lot of things that when Steph's out there, he gets so much of the attention from deep. Klay ends up with open jump shots. That doesn't happen as easily with Kevin Durant.
The biggest difference is, neither one of you brought this up, is how they start their offense. Because that's the biggest difference in their team. And Steph is the igniter for their offense. If you saw KD in the last 2 games, he's got to handle the ball a lot more.
Yep.
Why? Because the other guard in Klay doesn't handle the ball a lot. So the difference, it might be proven on the paper, but from a ball player standpoint, that's just because they don't start their offense now the way they started before. The drop-off offensively between the point guard, who takes his place, and if you had KD out of the lineup, it's easier to get his buckets than it is to get Steph and get the offense started. What makes Golden State so special? Their ball movement, their ability to be able to pick, they're free-flowing. You don't have that when you don't have the guy who starts. So I'm just going to get away from who's the most important. All right, because you can't afford to lose either one of them. Like, I don't care what the numbers say, but when you have a guy who is setting up the offense, it's easier for the numbers to indicate because he's got the ball more. So, yes, offensively, they are not as good a team because of the lack of movement. But also, they are a better defensive team. So, what is that? Plus on defense, a minus on offense? They are just not set up. We talk about, yeah, they won a championship without KD. They had a lot better bench. They had a lot better support.
I agree.
Their biggest bench players the year they won without KD were Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. They're still
the MVP of the finals.
Yeah, but
so he wasn't just some bench player.
Of course, but I'm saying those guys are still
and
there.
He was drastically better than he is now.
Okay, so that to me is the key point, because when you say their bench was better, I don't want people to be thinking about, well, wait, so we're talking about Festus Ezeli, Maurice Spates?
Right, no.
No, it's the same guys who were there. Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston, are they as good as they were
right now? You can't put Iggy in and say get 20.
No.
You can't put him in and say slow down LeBron.
Right.
All right. He is not that guy anymore. So you're going to suffer when you take KD off OKC. You remove some of your other bench players. You put him on that team. If you lose Steph or him, you're going to suffer because these teams won't be able to adjust because of the wholesale changes they had to make in acquiring that salary of KD.
And you know what, with Golden State, a lot of times their offense is their defense. So when the offense is not running through KD, when KD has to run the offense, like you said, it messes the whole offense up. The offense has to run through KD. Steph has to run the offense. And Klay is just a guy that gets his shots through the offense, through guys making plays. So you're right, the offense is going to struggle now without having Steph out there.
Stephen, right now the Warriors are in sort of a dogfight with Houston. How important is the 1 seed to them, and will it matter? Because time's kind of running out for them.
I think the 1 seed matters more to Houston than Golden State.
Why?
They've been there. They've been in the finals the last 3 years. You know, they've been at the top. They've broken records and winning and wins. They're not really worried about that. I think this team is so together that whether they're first, second, or third, when they get in the playoffs, they know what they have to do. They've been there. They know what it takes to be champions. I think Houston needs that #1 spot because they're not too confident in the playoffs. You know, I don't think anybody that knows the game of basketball not really buying this regular season Rockets. I'm not buying it because I know how teams take James out the game in the playoffs and he just die. The question is, what is Chris Paul going to bring to this team when the teams take James Harden out? Teams, they're going to double him, and they're going to make him give the ball to Capella at the three-point line. What is he going to do with it at the three-point line? Teams haven't been doing that all regular season. They're going to take him away. They're going to take him out. They're going to struggle.
So from a strategy standpoint, let's stick on the Harden. You believe that right now, he's probably going to be the MVP.
No question.
But you believe that there is a defensive way to be able to negate the way he's played during the regular season, and how is that?
Yeah, it's been done the last couple of years. I mean, if you look at it, be honest, he had an MVP season the last 2 years. You know, he's been doing the same thing, and they got to the playoffs. He didn't have Chris Paul, but they doubled him in the playoffs, took him out. Nobody else was able to do anything. I think Chris Paul may be the answer, but when you double James and get it back to those big guys, they can't make plays. They tend to struggle when they do that.
So the X factor, I think, for a lot of people, the difference between the Rockets this year and last year's Chris Paul. You didn't mention that. Do you buy into this idea that Chris Paul struggles in the playoffs? I don't. I think his teams have been beaten by teams better than them. It's one of the reasons I do believe in the Rockets this year. Not to say they're definitely going to beat Golden State, but I think they have the best chance of beating Golden State of any team in the last 2 years in the Western Conference. And I think an enormous part of that is what Chris Paul brings them, and that James won't have to handle the ball for 40-plus minutes a game as he had in years past. I don't know where you stand on Chris Paul. Well,
I think that the toughness that Chris Paul has, the Rockets definitely need. Chris Paul had a hell of a team in L.A. He had a hell of a team in L.A., so it's a lot of reasons why that didn't get done. Maybe it was Blake, you know, maybe it was the coaching, who knows, but they had everything. He had everything he needed in L.A. to beat Golden State. His toughness can get Houston over. They're playing great. I think any team going into the playoffs, you want to be on a good feel about your team. You want to be winning. Everybody wants to be healthy. That's a great way to go into the playoffs, and that's a good thing for Toronto and Houston. I think they need that to be successful.
What was concerning for me about Golden State was Friday they saw Houston lose. Houston's game finished before Golden State's even started. Golden State then starts off slow against Portland. Third quarter comes all the way back, takes the lead. That was a great moment for them to tie Houston in the standings, put the pressure back on them. They weren't able to close that out. Does that mean anything to you?
No, not at all. Like I said, playoffs is a whole different season. You know, like I said, these guys been there. You got to think the last couple of years they've been in the finals. They've been playing a lot of basketball the last couple of years. So if they even just turn it down a little bit and to go in the playoffs with a full speed, going healthy, Golden State, they can do that because they're the only team that have that luxury.
Yeah, you watched the fourth quarter against Portland and against Minnesota. They couldn't get any stops.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what was on the TV 3 hours ago. Yeah, we saw Houston losing. But when they got Portland, they couldn't get any stops.
Yep, couldn't get
so,
any stops.
you know, regardless of can we gain a game or not, at the end of the day, it's about getting the job done. And they just haven't been able to do it defensively either.
Stevens, we'll see you a little bit later in the show. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, should we just lock up Tiger to win the match?